Hi, everybody. This is Lowell, and I have another thought for you regarding creativity, and particularly creativity with music and music creation. And this is the concept of scaling, and I don't mean musical scales, but in terms of proportion of taking your idea and either leaving it for a small ensemble or a single pianist or up to a symphony orchestra or a large jazz band. Scaling is an interesting subject, and just because something is really really big, like you have 80 people sitting on a stage with playing a piece of music, doesn't mean that it's more complex. It just means that more people are involved. And so I learned this process or this concept very young when my father would be studying his orchestral score. And I must have been, I don't know, 5 years old when I was curious. He had his scores, all these big pieces of paper with lots of dots on them. And he had it spread out on a stand, and he was studying it in preparation for directing the orchestra. And he showed me how he would mark his score with some colored pencil, so that you could see, very clearly where the entrances are and the cues that he would have to give to the orchestra. Um, and it amazed me that there was so much information, uh, all these different parts, and all the different sections of the orchestra. It just seemed like an amazing amount of information that was in front of you. Uh, I didn't understand it at the time, being so young, but then as I grew and we started talking about composition, and he made the statement to me, he says, in a big symphonic work, he says, it looks really complex, but really it's just a few ideas, maybe one or two ideas that are really important that are going on at the same time. And I realized later that really the whole thing, like these big symphonic works, started from a piano score and could be actually reduced to just two staves of a piano score instead of however many they would be, um, what, 20 or 30 staves going on at the same time. And so the concept of I've found in my own writing that I basically start from a piano score, or even, as I've talked earlier, a single line, a single staff of writing that can, maybe just be on two pieces of manuscript paper, can represent what is ultimately going to be this very complex looking amount of information for 80 people sitting on a stage. And but it can all be reduced to very simplistic terms. And so when you're creating an idea, you have to kind of decide, what is going to be the best venue for this material. Should this be for piano, or should this be for a string quartet? Should it be for a jazz trio, a rhythm section? Should it be, with a full jazz band? Is this better for a small vocal quartet, or is it for, a mass choir? And many times you can take things that were meant for a smaller ensemble and scale them to be very big groups of people. For example, a string quartet could be easily turned into something for a string orchestra. So going from 4 people to upwards of 20 to 40 people, and that's just simply by adding a bass part. Um, that many times is doubling in some ways what the cello line would be doing. And so there are various ways of scaling things. I remember I took a piece that I had originally written for on a digital audio workstation. It was an electronic piece, and I turned it into a symphonic orchestra piece from that original electronic score. And the process of creating the score was similar to creating it for live orchestra. I had all the different parts and pieces, the bass lines and I just decided, which players I wanted to parse out those ideas from the electronic score. Um, so it went from electronica, uh, computer generated type of soundtrack to a full orchestra live setting. And so scaling is interesting, and it doesn't necessarily mean that that the ideas are more complex the larger it gets. You can have very complex ideas for a single player, on the piano or a string quartet. But it's always good to start from the smallest venue, the smallest ideas, and work out from that so that you don't get confused. You just, you continue to keep an overview of what the main ideas are when you keep the scaling small to begin with. But that's just a little bit of a thought in terms of creativity with scaling.